Welcome back, everybody, to the Aaron's High Cap Adventure Radio program. Today, again, is the 27th of February, 2016, and we're still live here, thank goodness. I am very excited to have my special guest in here today. It is Tony Williams from Kustom K9 Dog Training, and I said Harker Heights. He's from Nolanville, but he covers such a large area. That's probably why I screwed it up, right? Good cover, right? Okay. Now, Tony, I don't have a bio on you. I always like to introduce people. I know there was something on your website, but why don't you do this? First of all, thank you for coming on the show. And why don't you say hi to the audience and give us an idea of who you are, your background, and briefly so we can get into some of these questions. Because everybody you know me for a while. I always have questions written up so the guest knows what I'm talking about and they can prepare their answers because there's no tricks here. We just want good information for you to hear and be able to utilize. So go ahead, Tony.
Well, I'm Tony Williams. I grew up in this area. I'm from local area here. Family grew up in Killeen, Belton area. When I turned about 21, I went into the Air Force. I spent 20 years in the Air Force, retired from there. And I've been training dogs and horses. When I was about 8 years old, my dad said, if you want the dog, you got to train it.
You got to train it?
And that's where I started.
Well, did you do that in the Air Force?
I did not do it in the Air Force. I worked worked on C5s, 141s, 130s.
I used to jump out of those 141s. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Anything else on the...
No.
So where did you get your history besides what you just said of how to train dogs?
Just started training dogs, and it's a natural gift the good Lord gave me, and I have a unique gift with animals, and I work not only dogs but horses,
so you're a whisperer,
cattle, everything. Some people have called me that.
I'm a gun whisperer, and I bet you if I pulled off the shelf a gun training book, all your notes would be in between the pages. You're like me. I don't do standard training. I analyze things, man. I study all the little nooks and crannies and the things that fall through the cracks, and that's the stuff that's going to get you killed. I just get a feeling already that's the kind of training you do. Okay, time's a ticking, so we got a bunch of questions. Now, I got you on here. I told you that I'm kind of a prepper show. We like to talk details on things that people can use for disasters or upcoming events, financial, whatever. And so when I saw the K9, I thought, dog training. Lots of people have their dogs. Lots of people want security and stuff, but we've got a set of questions here. I want to talk about you first. Then I want to get into the kind of things that I want to talk about.
No problem.
So, what type of dog training do you do, Tony? There's a lot of people out there with dogs who are thinking about getting dogs, so talk to us.
Well, we do anything from basic obedience all the way up through advanced obedience. We work with service dogs. We work with therapy dogs, and there is a big difference there. But we can pretty much do any kind of training. I do herding. My office partner, she does hunting, ducks and dove. So we have a very wide range. We work a little bit in doing agility. We do have a young lady that we refer people over to for agility if that's something that you're interested in doing.
Agility in what respect?
With dogs, they do agility competitions. It's getting dogs to go through tunnels, over walls.
I wasn't sure if you were applying it to somebody who has a physical disability and that helps stabilize them and things like that. When you said agility, I wasn't sure.
No, it's a competition for dogs.
Very good. It's very good. You've got here, is there any breed restrictions, and if so, why?
We don't have any breed restrictions as far as training goes. We get a lot of people come in and they ask us, well, I've got a pit or something like that. We don't have a restriction. Now, certain cities in the local area do have restrictions on breeds. So certain cities, depending on where you're at, you'd have to find out from them. Some of them don't allow Rottweilers. Some of them don't allow pit bulls.
That's in a whole city, or are you just saying like
that's within the city limits?
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now, we can train them, but if you live in that particular city, you have to kind of go by their rules and regulations there.
Do you have I don't know if this is on here or not, but do you have a specific dog that you think, man, these dogs are just beautiful to train, just perfect dogs to train with?
I'm partial to Rottweilers and Border Collies. I raise Border Collies. They're very smart. Sometimes they're a little too smart for their own good.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I've got a 5-month-old pup that I haven't even really started training yet, but she'll stick her tongue through the kennel and start pushing the lock open, stuff like that.
Are you kidding me?
They're pretty smart.
Wow.
My 4-year-old, she'll sit on top of a 4x4 post. I can just tell her go place, and she'll go jump on a post and sit there. So they're pretty smart. She dials 911 for me and the whole 9 yards.
Does she give a report too?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, work on it, man. You got to work on it.
We're working on it.
Okay, what's the difference between a service dog? Well, first, before I do that, I want to ask, what about Sheps? What do you think about Shepherds?
They're good dogs. They're very good dogs. They do get a little more vocal usually than other dogs. So you have to takes a little more training to kind of get that vocal down so that they're not always sitting over there whining and giving you that little, hey, come over here and play with me type thing. Big,
what do they call it? He looks gruesome, but he'll lick you to death, right?
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference between a service dog and a therapy dog?
Well, a therapy dog is a dog that you would actually take out to like a retirement center, burn centers, to hospitals, those type of things, where you're taking that dog out to comfort somebody in that environment, whether it's in a retirement center and kind of gives them something to do. A service dog is an animal that is actually trained to perform a task for somebody that has a disability.
You can't combine the two?
You can. It's rare that you find a dog that can really distinguish between the difference between them. Because if a therapy dog, like I said, they're trained to go see everybody, a service dog is supposed to stay with you. So if you have a dog that's a service dog, they're supposed to be right there with you, not going out and seeking attention from somebody else in the public. Where a therapy dog, they're going to go into a room, let's say you go into a retirement center, they're going to search out whoever's the most stressed in that room and go try to comfort them.
They go on their own?
You take them around, but the dog is basically kind of trained to kind of
I'll tell you why I asked that. You hear these stories about these cats that seem to lie on people when they're about to die.
Yes.
Kind of freaky. So I'm wondering.
Dogs will do the same thing. Dogs will read your body language. They read how stressed you are, the whole 9 yards.
So I have a good friend of mine, and when I buy a new car, he has canine dogs. And I say, hey, do me a favor, check this out, make sure there's no drugs on it, right? Mm-hmm. So the dog sits there and tells if there's any drugs in the car. So can I get one of your dogs and let him sniff me and tell me if I'm going to bite the bullet anytime soon?
You can. They can be trained for that.
You're kidding me.
No. So actually, there was an article on TV where there was a young girl that, she's probably about 7 years old. She has seizures, and they were going to do brain surgery to help correct those seizures. And when they were doing the testing leading up to it, the dog started alerting. And the little girl was hooked up to all the equipment, and the mom's like, she's fixing to have a seizure. And the nurses and doctors are like, no, they're not. There's nothing on
monitors are okay.
Yeah, she's good. And she goes, no, I'm telling you, she's fixing to have a seizure. And within a minute, she started having a seizure.
Wow.
So the dog actually alerted before the medical equipment even picked it up.
That's incredible.
So they actually allowed the dog into the operating room while they were doing the surgery, because they're like, if this dog can sense it before our machines can, then we want them in there, because if she goes into a seizure, she starts to move, well then, that could actually make her brain dead.
So do you think if you had somebody with known medical problems and they're coming up to you and say, look, we have problems, I've heard this before, is there any way to train this dog based on who I am, smell me, and all this kind of stuff? You can actually take the person in question with a medical condition. I'm not holding you to anything here. I'm just asking if this is potentially possible.
If they are trained correctly, you can have a dog that will come up. It's training a dog to go off a scent. You can take cancer cells, and you get them from a hospital. They can take those cancer cells. You train the dog to sense that. It's just like drug dogs.
Yeah.
You train them to sniff out certain drugs.
That's incredible.
You train them to sniff out certain gunpowder, explosives, that type of stuff.
I don't want to burn up the time here, so I want to make sure we get this in. You're at the Expo Center today. Tell us about what's going on there, where your booth is, how people can come to see you and contact you. We'll do it again at the end of the program, but right now, so I don't burn up any time.
No problem. We're over at the Bell County Expo Center. It's off of Loop 121 and I-35 area. We're over in the Exposition Hall. We're in booth E29 and E30. And it's just the Temple Area Builders Association. So there's all sorts of. We have people out there with tractors, and we've got furniture, homemade foods, and just different things, just different local builders and businesses. And we're out there. We have our dogs right now. We've got 4 of them over there. I have my little 5-month-old pup there. I've got my 4-year-old border collie there. And we're doing demonstrations with them, showing you how the dogs actually work in a crowd. And we're talking, there's thousands of people. So
ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Tony Williams now from Kustom K9s out of Nolanville. He's at the Expo Center. If this is interesting to you, it's interesting to me. I don't have to go there because I'm talking to him directly. So I got one on top of you. But if you want to go see him today, go there. Plan it right now. You're listening to him now. We're live here on the show, 27th of February. Go to the Expo Center. Check him out. He's got it's pretty cool. So if you have a dog or thinking about getting a dog, if you want to train the dog or something like that, go check him out at the Expo Center to see him personally. But now, let's move. First of all, website. What's the website they can go to?
We have www.kustomk9, and that's spelled with a K. It's KUSTOMK9.org. That's our website. We also have Kustom K9 Facebook page.
Okay, well, we'll do this again before the end of the show, but I wanted to get it out there just to make sure. All right, let's go back to this here. How old should a dog be to start training?
Well, we actually will do a free evaluation. You come in, we'll set up an appointment. You come in, takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're going to find out what your goals, expectations are for your dog, and we're also going to work with your dog. That'll allow us to kind of see how mature your dog is. Some dogs, my border collie, for example, at 4 months old, she was very mature. She took to the training very well. I got her started. My pup that I have right now that's 5 months old, she just now kind of getting that maturity level to really understand what we're wanting. So every dog is a little different, and that's one reason we do the evaluation, so we can kind of get a feel for the dog, see how they take to the training.
Now, should I have asked you this first? Can any dog, or what requirements do you have for the therapy dog?
Well, for like therapy dogs and service dogs, they need to be a very mild-mannered dog, no aggression, that type of thing. We can help you find a dog if that's something that you're looking for. When we do service dogs, we require you to have a letter from your doctor. By federal and state laws, you do need to have a disability, and the dog has to be trained to perform a task for that disability.
Understood.
Therapy dogs, we can help you find some dogs, stuff like that. There's a lot of shelters in the area that have some good dogs in them.
I'm gonna, before the show's up, I'm gonna ask you some questions on the dog that I want to. I've had dogs, but I've got a special requirements that I'm wondering if it's possible. So I want to ask you that at the end of the show. What requirements do you have for dogs before starting training? Did we mention that?
Well, no. Really, there's no special requirements. It depends, like I said, if you're wanting a service work, that type of thing. Doing service dogs, we do require the letter from the doctor that would say what your disability is and what task that dog needs to be trained for. Just for basic obedience and so forth, we just do an evaluation to kind of see if the dog is actually ready for that type of training.
Okay. And on your website, you list Pet Tech course. Can you explain what that is, please?
Well, the Pet Tech, that is a first aid and CPR course for dogs. We actually offer that course. It's $150 for the course. It's about a 5-hour course. You come in, we actually teach you how to perform CPR on your dogs, that type of thing. If they're choking, we show you how to clear their airways. Just same thing as for a human.
You have the right spots, right?
Yeah, and they do it a little bit different than you would on a human. And that's what we actually do. We can teach you how to do to save your dog.
Very good. Okay, now this interested me when I saw this on the website. I had a misinterpretation of what it was, and you clarified that, but let's tell the people. I'm going to ask you, you talk about distraction training. Explain that. Distraction training for a dog.
Well, a lot of people go, oh, my dog is trained. They do anything I ask them to do. Well, that's at their house. That's where the dog lives. There's no distractions there. But the minute you bring them out into a crowd or outside, now you got the squirrels running down the street. You got the kids playing with the ball across the street. Maybe somebody with a walker with a wheelchair, or if you're going into public, some of the stores around are actually dog friendly. They've never been around shopping carts and so forth. So we do a lot of that distraction training so that it becomes just second nature to them, and they hear the noises or they see it, and it's nothing. It's just like, oh yeah, I've been around this all my life, you know.
All right, this is a weird question. Do you have any training for dogs to teach them not to put their muzzle in the crotch of you?
You can.
Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. No pun intended. The person's dog come run up to you and bam, right in the crotch. Like, come on, get your dog.
I understand that, but you also have to stop and think about that's how dogs communicate.
Yeah, they're not going to communicate like that.
And, yes, but you have to understand where they're coming from, why they do it, and that's what we do. Is we have a very extensive knowledge of animal behavior. And that gives us a heads up on how to train that out of a dog, that type of thing.
Okay, so it's definitely a way to do that.
Yes.
Okay. In the local area, there are lots of hunters. Do you train any hunting dogs?
Yes, we do. My office partner, she actually does duck hunting and dove hunting, and so we've got all the dummy launchers and so forth, so we can.
I was on a paid trip. I was on a paid trip down south to do some duck hunting, and our guide had the dog. It did not take your course. It would go and go and go and not come back. It's just like, oh.
Well, that's one of the things that anytime you start looking at doing any kind of specialized training, you need to have that basic obedience. It's just like when you build a house. You don't go out and build it on sand. You got to have a good, strong foundation.
Right.
And if the dog doesn't have that strong foundation, you're going to get that dog that's like, oh, there's the squirrel, and there they go, and you can't call them back until the squirrel hides from them somewhere. So when we do like,
and then the dog doesn't want to come back because it knows it's going to get a major beating, right?
Then that can happen. But what we do is we actually train the dog that it doesn't matter what's going on. I live out in the country. I have deer coming through there. My dog will try to herd the deer, and she can be full-blown run towards the deer, and I can just sit, and she'll stop and sit, and then I can call her right back. So to be able to stop a dog like that and call them back.
Dog training is something like shooting a gun. It's very perishable skills. Is that correct?
It is. Once you train a dog to do something, you can train them to do it, and if you don't maintain it, they will start losing that skill set.
Okay.
And that's why we always tell people training is a lifelong investment. You
shooting is a lifelong investment too.
Yes,
okay.
It is.
Very good. Do you have any kind of community awareness training with dogs?
We do. We do a lot of different, like Howl at the Moon. They do a little thing in Harker Heights. It's where we get different vendors and stuff out, and we're out in the public. And anytime we're out in the public, or we even go to like some of the elementary schools and the junior schools, and we do bite prevention, that type of thing, to teach kids how to approach a dog. If a dog is approaching them, how to stand and how to react to that dog so that they don't end up getting bit or mauled.
Very good. Sounds like you're doing a great job here. How long does it take to train a dog?
Every dog is going to be a little bit different.
And I guess to add to that, basic price.
Well, the price, like I said, that varies on what you're actually looking for. But as far as training, about 3 weeks, you're going to start, we can get your dogs to where they're coming to you, sitting next to you, downing next to you, sitting, downing at a distance, that type of stuff. You're going to start noticing a huge difference in the first 3 weeks. Typically, each dog is going to be a little different. To get them to where I say, okay, they're a good solid dog, that could be 3 or 4 months. It might be a year, depending on the dog, and depends on how much the owner actually works with that dog. So you get the owners that really spend the time working their dogs, you'll see those dogs progress very quickly. You get the owner that's like, well, I'm going to go to group class once a week and that's it. You can tell, and I can tell, they're not doing anything else at the house.
Well, sure, you'll see that if they're not doing it right.
Yeah.
So you have a training program. Once you go to the class, you can go home and
Yes.
keep doing the training. Okay. Do you train dogs for both on and off leash?
Yes, we do.
Who's that? Okay, I'm hearing some noise outside there in the hallway. Have you ever come across a dog that is untrainable or is too old to train? Because the quote goes, a dog's never too old to learn a new trick.
And they're not. I've actually had a lady who brought me a 13-year-old German Short-Haired Pointer. After 2 lessons, she was like, man, I should have did this 13 years ago. And to this date, I haven't found a dog that I have not been able to train. Now, some of them have been a little more challenging than others, but I've never found one I can't train, and I've never found one that I would say is too old. Like I said, at 13 years old, and that particular breed, average about 14 to 15 years is about average. Some of them a little longer, but right around 14 or 15 for that. And so...
Okay. Now, Tony, I'm going to ask you a couple of specific questions. I'm going to ask you this first question for me because I want to make sure it gets in. I'm a very tactical type of person, okay? I never like to give my position away, but I definitely want security. Now, you know how you have these little electronic devices for your door? If somebody touches the door, they go off. Well, it's a dead giveaway that somebody's there. I'm thinking, I used to have a Doberman Pinscher. Love my dog to death, okay? Gone. But I'm thinking if I ever do get another dog, I want a little tiny portable dog. And I'm not being funny here. But I want it to be able to alert me that something's going on without the bark, so that I know what's going on without the person outside knowing I know what's going on. But I also want to be able to say, I want you to make noise now, just for whatever reason. Can you get signals going? Can the dog roam the house and say, psst, hey?
Yeah, you can. If my wife was here, you could definitely ask her. My wife always tells me that me and my dog, she's like, you two are mind melding or something. I do, like I said, a lot of reading a dog's body language and so forth. Your dog is going to read your body language also. Matter of fact, over at the home show right now, I'm sending my dog out about 100 yards, a little over 100 yards, having her come to me, and then I can get her to stop from a full-blown run, stop and sit without even giving a command, just off of my body language. And when she's doing that...
See that, ladies and gentlemen? I teach in my class body language, too. Body language is so freaking important. I apologize. Continue.
Not a problem. But it is. I always stress body language. Your dogs are going to read it. And when you start understanding dogs and their body language, if my dog was here right now, the person that walked by a while ago made a sound, she would have not let me know beforehand, because her body language, she's going to perk up. She's going to be like, okay, there's something there.
Let me be specific. I'm sleeping, and the dog obviously wakes up before me, hears a noise. How does it come over and tap me on the shoulder and say, psst, hey, somebody in the outside perimeter?
Well, you can actually teach them to come and wake you up, that type of stuff. My dog, she's to the point where my wife gets up, she works in the emergency room, my dog will not make a sound. My wife can get up, walk through the house and stuff, and she won't make a sound because I'm sleeping. But if I get up on the weekends before my wife does, my dog's like, that's it, guys. Everybody in the house is up because I'm making noise and I'm going to do what Dad says to do. And it's a matter of just teaching them what you expect out of them. It's giving them that structure and boundaries.
Okay, very good. Is there anything I'm forgetting that you might be able to apply to the audience out there? If people listen to this show, they have probably a basic foundation of they want to be prepared, they have guns, or they just like to listen to this guy make a fool of himself, whatever. But is there anything you can tell me in the protection? Here's one question I want to ask you. When a dog is trained, how dangerous is it, and I say that very loosely, to mess with that dog? Hey, baby, how's it going? In other words, a trained dog, somebody else's dog, and you come up here and trying to pet this dog or whatever. Is that a potential problem?
That depends on who's done the training. When I train a dog, I want that dog to be very stable. They need to have basic obedience down to the point where I don't care what somebody does, they're fine. That dog can still be trained to do bite work. I had a Rottie that she would just be like, hey, pet me, pet me, pet me, pet me. Anybody in the world can walk up, pet her, do whatever, but I give her a command, she's biting, and she will not let go until I tell her to. And that's the control that I want. I don't want that dog at the end of the leash growling and barking and going nuts trying to get a hold of somebody. I want him over here, friendly little house dog, until they're given a command.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question. I'm not kidding here. I'm not trying to be funny here, everybody. I'm serious. Let's say you got some people who are home and really can't get out very often. I know lots of people. or I've seen lots of people, they really can't get off their front porch. But they want a dog for companionship. And here brings up the problem, dog going to the bathroom. Because you do such training, seriously, is there any way to get a dog? I've seen pictures of cats using the commode. Can you get a dog to use a commode, use to flush it, all that kind of stuff? Can you do that?
You can. It's going to take a lot of training to do it, but you can. My dog, I've got what they call a potty bell that hangs off the back doorknob, and when she's got to go to the bathroom, she'll go over and ring the bell to let me know she needs outside.
Well, that helps out a lot.
So you can actually train them to potty in a toilet, that type of thing.
Okay.
It's just, I haven't found anybody that wants that, but it can be trained.
All right, I'm down to a minute and a half here. Listen, all you guys and gals out there who like my concept of the little alarm dog, the way it taps you on the shoulder and goes, psst, okay, and anybody else with a dog who wants training or whatever, this guy seems to know what he's doing. I can tell he's got that whisper effect to him, okay? He's almost putting me in a trance. So it's really good. So with that, Tony, before we get off this air, tell us again how people can contact you, phone number, website, and that you're at the expo today. We got 1 minute. Why don't you hit me with about 30 seconds?
Okay. Right now we're over at the Home and Garden Show in Bell County at the Bell County Expo Center. We're showing our dogs out there. You can also reach us at 254-698-7020. That's a direct line to our shop over in Nolanville. And then we also have a website. It's www.kustomk9.org, and that's with a Kustom K9.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed talking to Tony. Tony, thank you for coming on. I appreciate the spontaneous type of reaction here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I always look forward to talking to y'all. Until next week, don't forget to go to my website, aaronsgunshop.com, if you want the CHL. And until next week, keep your powder dry and God bless.